Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce saying, Joyce, I still don't have a ring light. So if people are watching this.
Well, you need to borrow Daniel Craig's. That fell on his head.
I feel like it would fall on my head too. All I do is bang my head.
And then we could do like a whole video and you not realize you've been bleeding.
It looked like strawberry jam. For those who don't know what we're talking about, it's the variety actors on actors, Daniel Craig and Javier Bardem, which is the funniest thing I think both of us have seen all week, for sure, for me.
It was the perfect way to kick off their series. It was the first one they released, even though like their big tease was the Gaga cover.
And yes, Lady Gaga and Jake Gyllenhaal as her mystery guest.
But I highly recommend the Daniel Craig and Javier Bardem one.
It was a real hoot. You know, you told me to watch it and I did, and I was not disappointed. But Joyce, we're not here to talk about varieties, actors on actors, a wonderful franchise that I am very supportive of. But instead, the craziest day of the whole award season was today.
It's D-Day.
This is D-Day. We're doing it Thursday, or is it G-Day? Because it's Guild Day.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
Check that one off. It is Thursday afternoon. We just were the Directors Guild Award nominees. We're going to go through the Producers Guild, Directors Guild, the ACE Eddies nominees, and also the Writers Guild nominees, all today. Joyce.
Four of the biggest guilds.
So now we pretty much have a great picture of what will get nominated at the Oscars, I feel like. And I kind of think it cleared up a lot of, confusion, perhaps, maybe, or, hope dictions that maybe have now been dashed. But we'll start with the PGA, Joyce. I'll read them off to you.
Okay.
We have all of this on goldderby.com. That's right. I'm actually looking at our site right now. Great moment.
Way to pimp.
So good. The nominees for the Producers Guild, we start off with the bang, being the Ricardos, Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Power of the Dog, Tick, Tick, Boom, and West Side Story. Joyce, I think 9 of those were very expected. And then the 10th was being the Ricardos, which...
this is just a win for the alphabet.
It was. Because it got right out of the way. Right at top. You're like, okay, no Spider-Man, no Time to Die, no Drive My Car, no House of Gucci, no Lost Daughter.
This is like the opposite of 2 years ago when I was so stressed out waiting for Parasite, because alphabetically that was the last one that year.
Pretty wild. I remember that. So Joyce, I mean, that's like, I guess the headline there is being the Ricardos again, showing up, it's overperforming, let's say, at the PGA Awards.
Yeah, and I feel like people were. I mean, I understand like all the Spider-Man predictions, because I thought I could get into, and even like No Time to Die. They made money, and even House of Gucci, which a lot of people were also predicting did not get in. And I feel like in hindsight, we're all just dumbasses for not even considering being the Ricardos that strongly. I think. It has a pretty mixed reception, and I feel like maybe people were anti-dicting it because they didn't want it to be nominated, But even though it's on Amazon, so there's no box office per se, but we know from, I guess, last week or whatever, it had some huge numbers on its first week on Amazon. Whatever metric that was. I think it was Nielsen's, however they did it. But anyway, long story short, very windy here. That movie is about the production of a TV show. And these producers could relate to that, I feel like, Yeah.
The funny thing is when I saw this, I came home and I was like, Best Picture for sure. I had it in the top 5 of my Best Picture predictions. Like I was like, I'm in. This is getting in. Hollywood on Hollywood, all these big actors doing like big things. Sorkin.
You were picking 4 for 4 in acting.
I was doing the Scott Feinberg for Belfast on Ricardos, though. 4 for 4 for acting, Best Picture nominee, the whole 9. And then over the next few weeks, I just was like, man, a lot of people don't like this movie, even though I still do. And I let the mass.
It was the mind pressure, like the echo chamber of film Twitter,
And I should not have done that, because I could have left it in, and I would have had it in there for PGA if I was predicting that, and I would have had it in for Best Picture. So I moved it back into Best Picture, Joyce. Is the long story short here, because while I think it remains even today after it was nominated, I thought it remains a maybe fringe contender for a lot of people and an outlier, because I forget who it was, maybe Nathaniel Rogers on Twitter was saying, oh, Molly's Game was a PGA nominee. And so Chicago 7 was a PGA nominee. And now Being the Ricardos is a PGA nominee. So that it's clear that the Producers Guild really loves the Aaron Sorkin vibe, I would say.
Yeah, all of his directing efforts have made it so far.
Correct. So I'm like, well, in that case, Molly's Game wasn't a Best Picture nominee, though I could argue it was probably close to getting a Best Picture nomination and didn't have the full 10. So maybe
Ricardo's that year, that and I, Tonya were left off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two great movies. I love both those movies. But so I'm like, oh, maybe it won't get in. But then you look at it and I'm like, well, Nicole Kidman seemingly now remains a front runner for Best Actress. And perhaps
this like now, almost, I mean, I'm not gonna say she's definitely winning, but this win in her sales.
It's definitely ascendant, let's say. Javier Bardem was nominated at SAG. Great showing in the actors on actors thing with Daniel Craig, super charming there. I'm like, I really do think he could get in for Best Actor. Sorkin's script, spoiler alert, was a WGA nominee. Now, even with the
like a billion ineligible scripts.
Ineligible scripts, I still think he'll get into the Oscars. And all of a sudden, I'm like, well, maybe he will get in for Best Picture. It seems like, and then maybe that Nicole does have the Best Picture nominee that we've been talking about.
We were looking for from
who's going to be who's the actress who's going to have a Best Picture nominee, and it's Nicole Kidman. So I'm in on Being the Ricardos, and I wonder then if one of these falls out, what do you think it would be? I guess I'll put you on the spot.
I mean, I think the easy pick here is Ricardos, right?
Well, if it's not Ricardos, though.
If it's not Ricardos,
what's if Ricardos is 9th? That's actually 10th.
I mean, this was also like a big get for Tick Tick Boom because, it missed the Sound Mixing Guild the other day, or was it yesterday? I don't know. So many guilds this week. And, that has a low nomination ceiling. It's like, as we've said a million times, like Andrew Garfield is carrying this movie to a Best Picture nomination. So it really needed this PGA nom and it got in. I could still see that missing just because I don't know what else it could really get besides sound and him.
What if it gets, so I have 2 nominations that it could possibly get that we also saw today. Adapted screenplay, it made it, even though again there were a lot of WGA disqualifications. So like Power of the Dog was not eligible at the WGA. So there's room for a Tick Tick Boom. But at the same time, we've talked about that category is like not thin, but there's not a deep bench. And I know Dune has I think in our odds remains like a likely nominee there. And I'm almost like, what if it's not? Because again, I feel like there is a prejudice against science fiction and certainly science fiction screenwriting. And maybe Dune doesn't make it. I don't know. And I'm like, maybe then Tick Tick Boom gets in there. And then the last one, Joyce, which we'll get to again in a few, the DGA awards, no upsets there, went pretty chalk. But in the first time feature category, there was Lin-Manuel Miranda, which was not unexpected, obviously, for Tick Tick Boom. Is there any world where he can possibly get nominated as the 5th best director as like an upset pick? And then you get
I would not rate him in my top 3 of upset picks.
No,
if DGA doesn't go 5 for 5 with the directing nominees, I don't really see him as the replacement for any of them.
It doesn't seem likely, but I'm just saying
that branch is a little bit more snobbish. That's what I'll leave it at that.
So I don't know. I feel like what I'm trying to say is I think Tick Tick Boom is maybe also stable, and I wonder if one of these other, if Ricardo's is in, we've had all these other ones in the whole time. I wonder does something like King Richard fall out at the end and just be like, oh, we all thought it was going to get in. It showed up everywhere. It's a WGA nominee in original screenplay. It's a PGA nominee here. Obviously, Will is going to get a Best Actor nomination. Seemingly very well liked film, but maybe just it ends up not well liked enough and not high enough on the ballots, and it kind of gets knocked off. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this last week in our column, just piggybacking off of Ingenue Ellis's SAG snub. And also it didn't make editing at the Bafta long list, but it did make the ACE Eddies today. There was another big snub
yes.
there today, but not for King Richard. So, I mean, King Richard had a good day today.
It did have a very good day.
Yeah.
It showed up in 3 places of these guild.
Yeah, and I think buoyed by those first 3 guilds, maybe people were thinking like Ronaldo Marcus Green could like sneak into like DGA or something. Did not happen. So
I thought that. Yeah, he's good.
I mean, you were predicting him for a while there.
Guys, I'll tell you what, I interviewed him, so there you go.
I know.
But he's a great, I really like him, and the reason I was predicting him is because I think he has a lot of goodwill in the industry, because he worked with like a lot of really like classic veteran people on King Richard, including Pamela Martin, who was nominated at the ACE the awards today. So yeah, I don't know.
Like great tennis scenes, some of the best tennis scenes. I'm wearing my US Open hoodie, nice. So I have to promote the tennis scenes.
Rep King Richard. I love King Richard. I would really not, I don't want to see it snubbed, but I'm almost like, is that the type of movie that we're all just kind of like writing in throughout?
Yeah, I guess it's like how highly would people rank it, right? I don't know. Even amongst my tennis friends, like we're all just like, oh yeah, that was good, but like no one's like, I love that movie.
Right, the passion is not as strong there, and I think we all thought maybe the passion was going to come from the actors, but then it missed the SAG and the ensemble,
which is still like such a weird snub, because it like that performance and like that role in that movie just for Ingenue just felt like SAG bait, and she's a veteran, she's gotten 2 surprising Emmy nominations in the past couple of years, so it felt like this was something she should have easily gotten.
I said ensemble, I meant you know what I meant, Joyce, let's do the other. Since we're talking about all this, it's just if people are watching this or listening to this and are like, what are you guys talking about? So the PGA was first, kind of like, there we go, being the Ricardos in the conversation. Spider-Man out, No Time to Die out. We'll talk about.
But let's finish this with Spider-Man. Very sad for Spidey, especially after last night they released the first group interview with the 3 Spideys.
I love that they're
Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. I watched it immediately, obviously.
So good. I watched it too. I love that Tobey Maguire was so stone-faced he looked frozen for some of it.
It was I just love that he just had on this like t-shirt. It was just like he took a break. Like
it's great.
From like doing chores or something. Yeah. But anyway, I guess it is, like the biggest movie of the year. And in the past, PGA has nominated like Wonder Woman, Deadpool, like populist fare. Yes. So it is kind of surprising it didn't make it. Like I was thinking,
I wonder if the reason it didn't make it is because, frankly, I think Spider-Man No Way Home is a better movie than No Time to Die, which I know you haven't seen. But
I have not seen a Daniel Craig Bond.
Correct. But I would say that No Time to Die had like fledgling buzz and support for a PGA nomination because it was showing up in like a lot of the guilds, right? Like it had like some little bit of momentum. And I wonder if it kind of like Spider-Man and No Time to Die like split the populist vote a little. Like there was like enough juice for Spider-Man, and then.
But why can't you just vote for both of them? Like why do you have to?
Well, because maybe you just didn't like it all. Maybe you liked more one. There was no one to consensus around, so maybe kind of like pushed it down. That was my thinking. Maybe I still think Spider-Man could maybe get in at Best Picture. I know that's like complete long shot, no chance, but like I'll pull for it. It could still make it. So Spider-Man, No Time to Die. I think No Time to Die conversely would be not making it in. I think it needed to show up here to even be really seriously considered.
I just think it's interesting that they basically rejected money, like producers rejected money. Like even Gucci, the best performing adult drama.
They rejected money, but they did not reject viewership, because if you want, being the Ricardos, as we talked about, was like almost more watched, it sounded like, than even Don't Look Up, according to like whatever streaming Nielsen metric came. I mean, who knows?
Nielsen, how they even I don't know what rating that was. Sorry. But
it's like, if you think of it like that, it's like, oh, Being the Ricardos and Don't Look Up are like 2 probably of like the biggest movies of the year somehow, even though they didn't make any money.
I also wonder if it's because of COVID and everything that we don't really know how to measure success at the box office anymore. Like everything obviously has to be skewed because there's a pandemic. So even when things make money, like Eternals made money, but it's obviously not the normal type of money that or like Black Widow or like Shang-Chi. And even, Spider-Man, even though that was the biggest one. So I wonder if they're actually kind of gravitating more towards streaming movies because they don't have to, rely on dollar signs anymore that everyone can see.
So this is a messy list because HBO Max debuted some of these. But if you look at the nominees, Ricardo's streaming, Belfast was theaters, Coda streaming, Don't Look Up streaming, Dune and King Richard were both theatrical
streaming for 1 month.
Yeah. Right. Licorice Pizza theaters, Power of the Dog streaming, Tick Tick Boom streaming, and West Side Story theatrical. So really the only movies here that are not available right now to watch online or at your home are Licorice Pizza and West Side Story. Everything else was either available at home or was like available to rent or buy
like
now.
VOD, yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
And interestingly, Licorice Pizza and West Side Story are still doing well, comparatively in COVID times. Like they're both still in the top 10.
We were talking about that today, actually, because this is also the first day of Oscar voting. And that's why this is like such a hilarious big day for all these Guild nominations to come out. But next week, like during voting, Nightmare Alley will be on streaming. Now, I think
it's hitting Hulu and HBO Max.
I think both.
It's the last day of voting. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, well, that could maybe help it, but I would say that it needed. I think Nightmare Alley we could safely not cross off, but it would be surprised if it made it in because it got no PGA nomination, and then the Directors Guild nominees, Joyce, were. No Guillermo del Toro. I flirted with Guillermo, honestly, thinking he could get in. But
it got a couple of craft guilds this week, but those were pretty expected.
Yeah, it still was. I felt like it was making a comeback, and I was like, talking myself into it. But the nominees for DGA today were Paul Thomas Anderson, Kenneth Branagh, Jane Campion, Steven Spielberg, and Denis Villeneuve. Completely chalk. Not one surprise there at all. I was waiting for a surprise.
It was pretty anticlimactic after some of the events today.
I got to say, there were part of me that I was like, when West Side Story missed at the edit from the editors, which it did, the Eddie Award nominees, there was no West Side Story. I was like, what if Steven Spielberg gets snubbed and the DGA? Because
I think we were all thinking that because it also missed
cinematography,
the ASC, the cinematography the other day, which was very rude to that puddle shot.
Ridiculous. Janice Kaminsky, another former interviewee for me, but I was like, man, that guy rules, and like that's a great shot.
Are you jinxing all of them? Because you've talked to everyone.
Boy, I haven't talked to Steven Spielberg though, so that he maybe is safe. That seems fine. But no, those are the DGA nominees, and then that means no Pedro Almodovar, no Adam McKay, no Guillermo del Toro, no Joel Coen, no Ryusuke Hamaguchi, no Sean Hayter, and then first-time filmmakers who were nominated, who maybe would be fledgling contenders, let's say, were from the DGA, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Rebecca Hall for Passing, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Tick Tick Boom, Tatiana Hueso for Prayers for the Stolen, Michael Sarnotsky for Pig, and Emma Siegelman for Shiva Baby. I don't know, Joyce. I was kind of maybe expecting Adam McKay or Guillermo to show up here, but I guess I don't know who I would have thought would have missed. I guess Kenneth Branagh would have been my pick before the West Side Story Guild West Side Story. Wow, I can't.
What are you trying to say?
Real tongue twister there. The West Side Story Guild snubs wasn't even that hard to say, but I was just going too fast.
Yeah, I think Kenneth was always safe here. I think if it wasn't gonna be the chalk 5 at DGA, I think maybe PTA would have missed. But he made it. And
so now, Joyce, these are 5? So what do you, combining this with the PGA? What do you see? I
think these are our top now I can't talk, top 5 films, which I've already had for a while anyway. But I don't know if they'll match exactly 5 for 5. And I currently don't have Kenneth in my Oscar picks. I have Hamaguchi in, but I don't know. I could put him back in. Because I feel like they, like that branch, like, we said before, they're idiosyncratic. They're more snobby than DGA. Like DGA is humongous. And it's not just film directors, it's like TV directors and just like a bunch of people just working, like filmmakers, but not just purely like cinema filmmakers.
Right.
And so I feel like, you know, they might pull something like last year when they replaced Sorkin with Thomas Vinterberg, you know.
So I think they might do that too. And I think that's like the conventional wisdom. But then I would say, does that mean that Kenneth Branagh is on the outs? I feel like of these movies, he's the most Sorkin-like, let's say, of the potential nominees. Just because it's like populist movie and he's still like, while he is. And
also I'm still like riding off the PTA fandom thread high from like 4 years ago.
So my predictions at the moment, which I will obviously change because they're embarrassing, but I have actually PTA and Branagh out at the Oscars, and I had Hamaguchi and Del Toro in. Now I'll probably pop Del Toro back out because I think he needed to show up either here or at the PGA Awards to really kind of like stay in contention. So I'll probably put PTA back in and end up with Hamaguchi in the last spot and not Branagh. I could still see him missing.
Yeah. So like last year was just the last 2 years they went 4 for 5 because 2 years ago they swapped Taika Waititi for Todd Phillips. Right. The Oscars went huge for Joker.
Right.
And then the year before they dropped Bradley Cooper and Peter Farrelly for Paweł Pawlikowski and Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yes.
Right?
My sense is that the director's branch is not kind to actors turned directors, even if they are directors who have done many movies. Like Kenneth Branagh is almost
but he's also been nominated before for directing.
Yes, he has. And maybe I guess I would maybe change that to recent.
He's already in, even though it was a while ago.
It was a while ago when they were actually doing it, because like Kevin Costner and Mel Gibson, when was he nominated, Joyce? You know off the top of your head.
Like 30 years ago.
So I'm like, it was a more forgiving time for actors turned filmmakers, because you had Kevin Costner winning, you had Mel Gibson winning, you had Kenneth Branagh getting nominated. This is like a good moment for actors turned filmmakers. And then I think in the last 20 years, we've seen that they're just like, no, like no Bradley, no Ben Affleck. I feel like both of them would have been like, should have been nominated, could have won in those categories.
I mean, they definitely worked for it. So
I could see maybe the tide has turned on that, though. At the same time, Kenneth Branagh, like we said, like he's done many movies. I think he's directed 9 or 10 movies. He
has a Death on a Nile. Finally,
yes, I can't wait. Can't wait to see that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I was like,
but also the last time DGA went 5 for 5 with the Oscars was the first year of the preferential ballot. So it was 12 years ago.
So it could go 5 for 5. I would not be surprised if it went 5 for 5, but I do think there's going to be like a one twist. And I guess the question is then who is left out? It will be Kenneth Branagh, Paul Thomas. I mean, do you think like PTA gets left out in that case?
I don't know. I feel like I felt more like PTA would have gotten left out at DGA than the Oscars.
Same. But the other thing is, do you think Spielberg could get left out?
I don't know. I would hate it if he got left out, because this is his best movie since Lincoln. Yes. And he was one of the survivors of that, crazy 2 for 5 match that year with DGA. And I don't know. I don't think he will, but yeah, I think he's okay. Like West Side Story had a pretty up and down week this week with the guilds, but I he made it here. Although, like, they do love him at DGA.
Right.
I think he should be fine. Like, that is a really huge directorial achievement. So then, Denis, I think that's like the tech achievement.
Denis and Jane are probably pretty.
Yeah, like Jane is winning.
So it's like, I mean, really, so I guess you would say maybe ranked in order of potentially not making it from this list. At least for me, I would say Kenneth, Paul, Thomas Anderson, Spielberg would be my top 3 of potentially that one of those would miss. And then like a Hamaguchi or like, I don't even know, Joel Cohen or Pedro Almodovar, some either auteur art house director or like an international director will make that last spot.
I don't know. I felt like last year was kind of easy to just like earmark Sorkin for the snub, I feel like.
So. I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I still think I'm going to have Branagh not making it. No offense to Mr. Branagh or Sir Kenneth, I guess it would be, and Belfast. And then the Writers Guild Joyce, that was another. So this is, again, a lot of movies not eligible.
Do you want me to read off some of the ineligible movies?
Yeah, let me read off. The ineligible movies would be Power of the Dog, The Lost Daughter. Let me see.
Well, that's adapted. So yeah, there's also Passing.
Right.
Spider-Man No Way Home was also ineligible.
Belfast in the original is ineligible.
Yeah. Drive My Car.
Ineligible.
Cyrano. Yeah.
A lot of ineligibles. But here were the nominees of what was
and also
eligible.
Mass.
Yes. Ricardo's, Don't Look Up, French Dispatch, King Richard, and Licorice Pizza. Not a bad list, honestly. I actually think I have 3 of these 5 at the moment. I don't believe I have more than that. Let me see. Because I have Belfast in there, I think that's a safe nomination for it. And I have Parallel Mothers in there actually too.
Interesting. I've been on the come on train for forever. I don't know if I'll stay on it. There's usually a sole writing nominee every year, and I feel like that could be it. Like Mike Mills was that a couple years ago with 20th Century Woman. So
I guess the one I feel like bad because I really like the movie, but the movie that I think would miss here is King Richard, even though
I have Come On in lieu of King Richard.
So I have King Richard out, and I have Parallel Mothers in basically on mine. I think Parallel Mothers could get in for Pedro Almodovar.
Yeah. It just
Come on is also a good choice though.
Yes. What if they both get in?
They could. I mean, I feel like the safest ones here would be
Licorice Pizza and Belfast.
And I kind of think, I don't know, I think Ricardo's is pretty safe. People love Aaron Sorkin, and like they obviously like the movie.
Yeah, I have that, and then I have Don't Look Up.
Same.
Yeah.
And then for adapted, did we do those nominees? Maybe not. It was Coda, Dune, Nightmare Alley, Tick, Tick, Boom, and West Side Story. So obviously Power of the Dog will be in here. I think Lost Daughter will be in here too at the Oscars. So that knocks out 2 of these. I think the conventional wisdom would be Nightmare Alley and Tick, Tick, Boom would not make it. Though, like I said, I'm not convinced Dune is going to be taken seriously as a writer. I love that movie. I just wonder, I'm like, does science fiction play for as a screenwriting gambit?
Yeah. And then it's also like half a movie, basically, as well. Like, I don't think it's the same as, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Right. So we'll see if it's in there. I know it's a popular pick, but I think Coda and West Side Story.
I think Coda is in. Let me see what I have. I think, do I have Macbeth? Oh my God, I don't even know.
I'll tell you what, I had Macbeth, and that was eligible here and did not make it. And that's why I took it out, because I was like, if Macbeth can't get in at the WGA awards when it is got a face.
I have Drive My Car, that's right.
A lot of ineligibility in its race here. If it didn't make it in, that seemed like a demerit in its chances to me. So that's why I took it.
It's rough because it's also Shakespeare,
Yeah.
And
I've heard of that guy. He's pretty good.
You've heard of Bill?
Yeah.
Wasn't sure.
And then Joyce, let's do I want to do the Eddies just because
the ACE Eddies, yeah.
So the nominees there were for drama, Belfast, Dune, King Richard, No Time to Die, and The Power of the Dog. And then for comedy, Cruella, Don't Look Up, The French Dispatch, Licorice Pizza, and Tick, Tick, Boom. No West Side Story. I cannot figure that one out for the life of me.
That was shocking, because I would be like, congratulations, here's your ACE Eddie and Oscar.
So, like, would it have been it's a drama, right?
It was, yeah. So it was classified as a drama because it is. There's 3 tragic murders in it. Yes. Contrary to what some recent tweets would have you believe. It is.
Laughter is the best medicine, Joyce.
Yeah. Or is it music? Music
is the best medicine.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Murder is definitely not the best medicine.
Yeah. No.
And there is tons of murder in West Side Story. So
yeah. So, and then until recently their Ace Eddies comedy category was comedy or musical.
Correct.
But now it's just comedy. So then they differentiate. So obviously they put Tick Tick Boom into comedy.
Sure.
Even though that's not that much more comedic.
No.
West Side Story. It's pretty dramatic and sad and heavy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wonder if, so I think Les Mis was nominated in comedy or musical at Ace Eddies. I should double check that. But back when it was still called comedy or musical,
right,
I think it went in there because it's a musical, obviously, even though that's also not a comedy. But I wonder if, because West Side Story was classified as a drama, that they don't really think of musicals as, because I feel like when you hear musical, you think of lighter fare.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was a factor.
It might be, but I was like, I feel like, I don't know. I was just surprised it didn't make it. Also, Coda did not make it, which kind of surprised me. And I guess that would have been a drama as well. Though I think you could have fudged it into comedy if you really wanted to. It's not funny, but it's sad.
Yeah, that's not funny.
There is some comedic moments though. Certainly as many as there are in Tick Tick Boom.
Well, like that's the thing, right? It's like, what is it, because there are more like upbeat songs in Tick Tick Boom?
I don't know.
That's why you put it in comedy.
And how about Cruella?
Your fave, Cruella.
I'm like, wow, man. And how did this love for Cruella, not for the score? Mickey Britell. Come on, that was his score this year.
Listen, he has Don't Look Up, okay?
Yeah, but I think he would have done better with Cruella. I don't know. I think they made a mistake. Not him or anybody involved with those movies. Just the branch should have maybe considered Cruella.
Okay, so yeah, Les Mis was not Ace Eddies when it was still called comedy or musical. Right. Yeah.
So that was a bummer for West Side Story, and it missed, obviously, we were saying before, from the cinematographers as well, which kind of throws everything up to me. I guess I'm of two minds. So we're using this now to now frame the Oscar conference. Oscar voting is happening right now. People are going to make their nominations and make their picks probably at the last minute. But if they're overachievers or type A's, maybe they're doing it right now or today on Thursday here, because they only have a week, right, Joyce? So we're already done.
They have only 5 days. It's February 1st.
Not even, right? Unbelievable. Wow. So I don't know. All of this today combined makes me think that Power of the Dog is still winning Best Picture. That I still have it in there. None of this has changed my mind on that. That's my big takeaway.
Everything is kind of, it kind of feels like Nomadland last year, where everything is just kind of falling into place for it.
Yes, I'd agree with that. And we know
it's not the strongest film, because I think it's missed some guilds, but also those don't really matter that much for its chances. It's because it's not a huge tech player like Dune. I think Dune has made pretty much everything except for SAG.
So.
Yeah.
And we had pegged Dune as the top nominee getter, and I think West Side Story will be in there as well. Those will probably be the two biggest nominees. And then I think Power of the Dog is still the front runner though. And none of this stuff here today made me change my mind. But I guess if I had to pick a second movie now, I was going to say not West Side Story because it missed a couple of those guilds. But then when Steven Spielberg made it in for DGA, I can't.
I mean, I still think it will get nominated at the Oscars for cinematography and probably editing too. Yeah.
So then it doesn't matter. And then it's the second, then it's there it is as the 1A to Power of the Dog. Do you, any of these other movies you think have a shot? Belfast did pretty well, obviously, like we said. BGA, DGA, no WGA, but it wasn't eligible. I mean,
it missed sound editing the other day, right? One of the sounds, I think, of sound editing, the sound editors, for their riot scenes,
right?
So it performed fine, I think. Nothing really changed my mind. It is kind of interesting because I feel like every guild there was a snub for something,
that's true,
missing, sound mixing. But in the grand scheme, I still have Power of the Dog winning.
Same. It is interesting though that everything missed in one spot or another, which is
it keeps
weird.
things kind of exciting in a way, even if your fave gets snubbed somehow. I I think really for Best Picture, it's just figuring out the final slot or two.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. I hazard to say all 10 will make it over, but I kind of want to just say all 10 from the PGA will make it over. It was a little more.
I have Macbeth in my 10th slot.
You're still rolling with Macbeth.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I could switch to Ricardo's, but I don't know if it'll be all 10. Like, I guess they could be. I guess is it laziness if it's just the 10? I don't know.
I don't know if it's laziness, but I'm also like, I just don't know. I guess of all the movies that are in contention for that last spot that combine most like broad mainstreamness / like people actually liking it, it does feel like Ricardo's could be that pick, because it's like it was definitely watched a lot. Certainly the industry seemingly really likes it much more than like film Twitter does and like the critics did, but the industry has been like very excited by it, and it's very popular based on whatever, you know, back of the napkin math that we were reading about online about like the Nielsen metrics or the minutes watched or whatever, who knows. So I'm like, it does combine both of those things, whereas like Spider-Man is maybe still considered Spider-Man. No Time to Die, we like probably not seriously considered. And then the art house movies like Lost Daughter, Macbeth are really strong to certain people, and maybe that passion is enough to push them through. But I don't know, does it not play out? I guess I would change my mind, I guess, depending on like the Bafta nominees. I don't even know though.
Yeah, well, Bafta is next week,
Right.
And they also, you know, for many of their categories, they have the juries, so it's not particularly helpful if you're trying to use that for your Oscar predictions.
Well, if Lost Daughter makes it in a Bafta, would you consider that as like maybe a strong contender then for the 10th spot?
I don't know. I mean, it did well on the long list.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it'll get into Best Picture there. So
I don't think it will either, but if it did, I would maybe think like, okay, then I think it's going to get in, because I think that movie is actually I think again, there is a lot of support for that movie. It's not as I think there are more polarizing movies than that, I would say. I don't know. I could see it, and we know Olivia Colman's going to get in. Seemingly Maggie Gyllenhaal will get in for screenplay. Maybe it gets in. I don't know. If it doesn't get nominated BAFTA, I would just say no chance. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know like some people were thinking of getting into PGA too, but I don't know. I wasn't feeling that really. It feels kind of small, I guess, in a way, even though I feel like it is peaking right now, or I don't know if it's actually peaking, but the conversation around it is happening right now since it, you know, just arrived on Netflix a couple weeks ago. But
and it has that Olivia Colman performance that like people are like very excited by.
Yeah, I think there's like a whole bunch of movies for those last spot or two. Like there's also Drive My Car, and you know, I guess, you know, are we burying Nightmare Alley?
I think are we going to cross off? Are we crossing off Nightmare Alley and House of Gucci? I guess would be one of the questions.
I think Gucci needed PGA.
I think it did too, but it did get in at SAG. If it won at SAG somehow, that would, I think, renew maybe interest in it, but we'll already know it doesn't really matter for the nominations, right? Because we'll already have known, or voting will be over by the time. So, or
SAG, well, SAG winners is the 27th. It's in a month from now,
right?
So
won't really help.
Yeah, like Oscar voting
will already have happened
February 1st.
So I'm just saying, like, House of Gucci, if it could, I guess if it got in there, then we'll say, oh, maybe it won at SAG. Who knows? I just think it needed to get in here at PGA. It feels like
it needed this, like this. Gucci and Spider-Man really needed PGA just to maintain that candidacy.
Yeah,
and because Gucci, how many guilds has Gucci hit? I don't like, definitely costumes. I remember that, obviously.
I think it's done pretty well.
And
actually.
Makeup.
I think costumes and makeup, obviously SAG did really well. I mean, it's playing well. Jake Gyllenhaal loved it, Joyce. He was like all about that.
You know, how available is your heart?
It reminded him of an opera. Very operatic, he said. Joyce, I want to do two things before we wrap up. We got to talk about the TV DGA nominees. I'm just going to run through the nominees really quick on the drama series. Kevin Bray from Succession, Mark Mylod from Succession, Andre Parquet from Succession, Robert Polcini and Sherry Springer Bergman from Succession, and then Lorene Scafaria from Succession. So all 5 DGA TV.
I wonder what show's gonna win
for Succession. So I saw a lot of people upset about this. I would say
I am not upset.
Could not be more pleased. It is the only show on TV that is this good is Succession. So if they want to just say this is the only good directing that happened last year on TV, who am I to argue with that? Certainly from my perspective, it was a wonderful experience watching this show.
So I understand why people are upset, and like, is it over the top? Yes. Like, did Succession need to fill out all 5 slots? No, it did not.
No.
But also, I don't think these people or like the voters purposely like filled out Succession down the ballot at all. I think it was, so I think drama is pretty weak this year. Like all like the big players are premiering right now, you know, like Ozark just dropped, Killing Eve is coming back soon. So all those, the usual suspects are coming in the spring to gear up for the Emmys in 2022. But for, 2021 purposes for DGA, it basically had no competition.
Right.
Like, so I feel like that was part of it. And then I think when they were voting, I don't think they were, I'm sure some people just listed 5 Succession episodes, but I feel like they probably listed, maybe 2 or 3, and then they listed other shows, whatever else was eligible this year, I guess. Morning Show, Handmaids.
So I think, yeah.
And
you're right.
So then I think, but I think enough people did that because Succession is so popular and widely watched that they all just rose to, those 5 just rose to the top. So it didn't matter that there were other shows on people's ballots because not enough people voted for those.
Yeah, I think that's very astute. There's just too much TV, you'd argue, and their only show that everybody watches and agrees on is Succession.
Yeah, and like it just ended in December,
So I'm going through these, Joyce. I'm rewatching season 3 now, so I dare I say I'm like kind of like in the Succession mindset, but I'm like looking at these and already I'm like, I don't know who I would pick to win, I guess. I just want to go through them quick. Retired Janitors of Idaho is the dead cat one, right? When they're doing the
Imaginary Dead Cat, perfect episode.
Okay. All the Bells Say is when Kendall, when we leave off with Kendall.
That's
the finale.
It's the finale.
Okay. What It Takes is which one? That was the one I was hung up on. Do you remember? Let's see.
What It Takes, I'm going
to Google it now. This is compelling stuff.
Oh, that's the one.
Season 3, episode 6.
In Virginia. That's correct. the Republican their private convention
with Justin Kirk playing Tucker Carlson. Great episode. Lion in the Meadow is with when they go visit our pal Adrian Brody.
Mm-hmm.
And then my pick would be Too Much Birthday, which is Lorene Scafaria, which is Kendall's birthday. I hope that wins for so many reasons. I just think that's an incredible episode. And I actually think the Mylod pick of All the Bells Say, they maybe should, while the finale is all time, I almost wonder if they should have done the previous episode. But
with the dick pic.
Yeah, because it's just an incredible moment. But I would pick the Too Much Birthday personally, but I don't know. Where would you go with your Succession pick here?
I would be fine with Too Much Birthday winning. That was great. And I guess the easy pick, I guess, would be the finale, All the Bells Say. You know what would snub though? Kathy Yan for the Disruption, the 3rd episode. That was a good one.
A great episode.
Yeah.
So good.
So I would probably rank What It Takes last. Because I also greatly enjoyed Retired Janitors of Idaho. That was a tremendous bubble episode, just
really good.
And then The Cat, obviously. So yeah, I think it's probably between Too Much Birthday and the finale. I
mean, we'll see what happens. Probably the finale is the edge because it's a finale, but we'll see. And then for the while we're doing these, let's just do a comedy was not as compelling, but certainly because it's just not Succession is not involved, but great shows nonetheless. Hacks, Ted Lasso, The White Lotus. The three Ted Lassos are No Weddings and a Funeral, which is, I think, when Rebecca's dad passes away. Rainbow, which is a good big Roy Kent episode, if I remember correctly.
That's a rom-com.
And then the twist, I would say, is Beard After Hours, because that was a very polarizing episode, Joyce. I don't know if you remember it. It was an extra episode, that one of the two that they added, because they were going to do 10.
It was all about Beard.
All about Beard going on like an Odyssey journey / Martin Scorsese's After Hours, hence the title. So that the fact that it got in there made me think that maybe it actually could win, just because like I didn't think it was gonna. It was definitely of a polarizing Ted Lasso season where people were very much buried in the discourse of it. That was definitely an episode that people were not.
And also, it had more episodes this past season, so it was like that was an extra episode.
They were not excited. They were not as excited. More people were. That was the most polarizing. I would say that was the most polarizing episode of a polarizing season. So I was surprised it made it. And then The White Lotus, Mysterious Monkeys was the other nominee. And then for limited series, Joyce, we'll just do these very quick. Barry Jenkins, Barry Levinson for Dope Sick. Barry Jenkins was for Underground Railroad. Hiro Murai for Station 11. Danny Strong for Dope Sick. And Craig Zobes for Mayor of Easttown.
Zobes, not Zabes.
Not Zabes, Zobes.
I would like Craig to win for Mayor.
I don't think he will. I think it's going to be, I hope it's Barry Jenkins personally.
He deserves some love because the Underground Railroad got screwed last year. Really.
And then Joyce, the only other thing we could talk about was our Gold Derby Awards.
Yes, we announced nominations.
You can vote right now.
You can vote for the winner. Create as many accounts as you want to vote for the winner.
We can vote until Sunday, February 27th, Joyce. So plenty of time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of voting, since it is the first day of Oscar voting, and the next time we do this next week, it'll be over.
Somehow it's over.
Who would you want them to vote for? Right, this is your chance to champion.
Can I do more than one thing?
Some films. You do as many as you want.
Okay, first would be
for like with the one Oscar voter watching this right now.
The one Oscar voter watching this right now, Ben Affleck, Tender Bar. I'm actually now, Joyce, I've looped around where I actually am excited about Tender Bar and Ben Affleck in it. I think he should get nominated. It's a great performance. It is. The reason my thinking was The Last Duel, he is incredibly hilarious and a great villain. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's very much in keeping with Dazed and Confused and Mallrats, when he was just the early in his career, that's all he did was play bullies and villains and just total douchebags. And bringing that back for Last Duel, I found so great. And if you like, the reason I like Tender Bar more though is because we haven't actually seen him do that type of. He's just so average in Tender Bar in a way that like there's no trauma like he has in Way Back. There's no like smarmy ulterior motives like he has in Gone Girl. Uncle. Yeah, he's like a nice uncle and he's like a good dude. So I was weighing on. I'm going to bat for Ben. I think he should get nominated.
I want it to be The Last Duel.
No, I think Tender Bar is the one. I'm in on Tender
Bar. Also, are you just influenced because he's been nominated for the Tender Bar instead of Last Duel?
No, because I thought about it. I really think that it's just it's a bigger stretch for him to play the guy in Tender Bar than it is him to play in Last Duel for whatever reason.
But I also feel like it's not though.
Well, I
guess like we haven't like he doesn't usually play those guys, but like
I think he's more like I think he's more like the guy. Obviously, don't know Ben Affleck, but he seems like I think we'd be pals. But I'm like I think he's more like the guy in Tender Bar than he is in Last Duel, and then maybe you'd say like, well, he's not really acting then. But I wonder. I think it's actually hard to play like a slight variation on yourself a little more than sometimes we think. I don't know. I'm going for.
You're very excited because you like quickly turned around like a manifesto on Ben Affleck today.
Because you inspired me in yours, Joyce. So you stump for your pal, and then I'll do another.
Were you threatened because I wrote about Mike Fice?
No, because I love him. I love Mike Fice.
But we're supporting two different. We're dueling supporting actor contenders.
But I'll tell you what, I have them both in my predictions.
Okay.
So.
As long as you support Mike as well. I don't have Ben though. Should I put in Ben for you?
No. Come on. So who do you got here? What do you think?
Well, yeah. So Mike, please. Even though it's been shaky with West Side Story this week, but just vote for him.
So good. He's really great.
He's so good.
Joyce has a great piece on the website, and I was like, man, you know what movie rules? West Side Story. You know who's great? Mike Feist.
He's the best part of the movie, and he's been paid dust by everyone so far, except us. We nominated him, so you can vote for him in our award. But I feel like part of it is because like the movie was late. I feel like it should have started screening in early November. It was done because this movie was supposed to come out in 2020, so it wasn't like Nightmare Alley. They were like trying to wrap it up,
right?
So I feel like they should have done that to build up buzz because he's, you know, not super famous, and I don't think he was on anyone's radar to be a potential nominee because like no one has ever nominated anyone for playing Riff before like in any medium. And then like, you know, you were earmarking like, you know, like Rachel Zegler because she's the lead, and Ariana DeBose and David Alvarez because they're playing Oscar-winning roles. So I feel like you were already keeping an eye out for them. Like no one was keeping an eye out for him. So I feel like he could have really benefited from some extra weeks of buzz. And yeah, and then they had late SAG screeners, which also screwed the cast and him.
But the couple of things there, he was on the long list at Bafta, so that's good.
Yes, so he could get in next week if the jury picks him. If he's, I don't think he's top 2 for the automatic nomination.
I don't think he's top 2, but I think he can get him from the jury.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
And I just think, like you said, and I think in your piece, you leave the movie and you're like, wow, that guy rules.
Like put him in all the movies.
Anybody else, the movie's great, I love it, but I'm like, he really does explode off the screen.
It's like such a different interpretation of Riff.
Really good.
Yeah,
and I think it would be a great nomination. I think if West Side Story is a strong shower, I think he can get in. You know what I mean? Like I think if there's like a broad amount of love for him for the movie, I think he'll get in.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would feel better if it didn't miss ASC and ACE this week. But
certainly not.
But the cinematographers and editors are not nominating the acting nominees.
No.
So,
but I think I'm pretty excited about him. Just the other person I'll stump for quickly is Simon Rex for Red Rocket. Totally out of the blue.
Who we also nominated in our award.
We did. Our awards are pretty good, honestly. Some of them. But yeah, I'm weighing on Simon Rex for that performance. I think it's so good. He's just out of his mind. It's Sandler and Uncut Gems.
I would support that nomination for him. I don't think he'll get in, sadly. No. But you know, I used to watch Jack and Jill on the WB, and he was on that show.
Great show, and he was very good. But he's so good in Red Rocket. It's a great movie and great performance. And another one of those. I guess we'll see. I think what we were talking about earlier is like how much the accessibility and just being theaters only. Like, does that matter? And like Red Rocket's another one that's just, I don't think you can only see it in theaters. I think it's coming to.
It's super small.
Like no one really saw it, and it's only coming to theater like DVD. I think in like March, so it'll be like no impact on any of its awards potential by then because it'll be long done past voting. But yeah, like I wonder how that'll play out. But Joyce, do you have any another person to stump for?
I would just like The Last Duel in general. Because it's like not even getting guild nominations in like crafts.
Just really needed some good crafts.
Like nothing from ADG. Oh my gosh. Come on.
Great crafts, beautiful crafts.
So all right,
rude. So next time we talk, Oscar voting will be over.
Oscar voting will be over. I guess we should probably do it after BAFTA nominations, right?
Yeah, I think that's when next.
That would make the most sense.
And we'll talk more about this in our little typey column.
Oh yeah, tomorrow. We haven't decided what it's going to be.
Yeah. But Joyce, this was fun. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.